And a good morning to you. Happy rainy Tuesday, I guess is the best way to phrase it for today. Glad to have you along with us. Get out of the holler there. That's better. I'm still a work in progress, but I'm getting there. Closer and closer every day. I got all kind of great information here that I have compiled for my close personal friend, For Rembert, so that he can analyze, dissect, rip apart everything, just because he can. So get your good deep breath. Let's get ready to go. You need to buckle up, Buttercup, because we're going to talk about it all. I have seen a lot of talking heads with opinions, and I listened to Cal Hurd yesterday, and I've got to say the thing that keeps coming up, and you say it all the time, and it's why I want to do it different, is the committee's not getting it right. But the committee's not getting it right because it's based on opinion. I don't care if you had 700 top football coaches, they wouldn't come to a consensus and get it right because they have predetermined feelings about where goes where. So here, let me give you this. I'm the first one to tell you that even though the first rule I want changed is because everybody doesn't play everybody inside of a conference, I don't want a conference champion to get an automatic bid because there's no value to conference play anymore. One of the arguments I heard, SEC plays 8 conference games, and then they play Mercer and Middle Tennessee State and Miss Hattie's Child Care and Self-Help. Big Ten plays 9 conference games. Until you get consistency where you can compare as close as you can apples to apples, you can't have conference champions. So that would be my first thing. And if that happened, my team that made it by the skin of their teeth because they won the conference wouldn't be there. And if you go look at the rankings and how things are put together, they don't shape up. SMU doesn't either. SMU didn't play a ranked team. There was something I found that I thought you would like. Let me find it. Because I think this is something – I think it's something that describes the way that you want things to be. Did I not print it off? Yes. There's a ranking that ESPN does. They do a lot of different analytical rankings. And one of the ones that they do, and this is the one that I like, it is called strength of resume, meaning we're going to rank you by who you played, who they played, common opponents, those type things. The top 3 teams out of that in strength of resume is Oregon, Georgia, Texas. Okay? I got somewhere I wait a minute. There it is. That's what I was looking for. Number 4 is Penn State. Number 5 is Notre Dame. Nope. Wrong list.
Mm-hmm.
Wrong list.
Definitely wrong list.
So how would you rank it? How would you do it? If you're going to tell me best, you got to give me a quantitative.
I'm not going to tell you that because it doesn't work. Anything left up to a committee means that there's ultimate failure.
So how do you fix it? That's my question.
Whether it be biased or supposedly subjective and all these things. This is the problem with strength of schedule.
Not strength of schedule, strength of resume. I don't know who you played.
No. Strength of schedule.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. This is the problem with that. 2 years ago, Florida State was this year, Florida State was supposed to be really good.
Yeah.
Well, you schedule them because you want a top-tier opponent. What does Georgia Tech do the first game of the season? Yeah. Wears them out. All of this, like none of this matters. You can plan for that, but until you get conference champions that meet at the end of the year to play, instead of saying, well, this is the thing. If the goal is to get the best teams in, then you're going to have one person in charge that puts those people in and have.
But then it's still somebody's opinion.
And have several people. Yes, that is if people want the best teams in. What you do is you put Nick Saban in charge or Mac Brown, and then they have people under them, and then they say, okay, because that way it's not left up to a committee. A committee is a way to divert responsibility and accept it as a whole in a group instead of an individual accountability. That's why you have a commissioner in baseball, basketball, and football, more so in baseball. And
but you talk about those. You talk about those, but none of those does Roger Goodell or whoever the cat is at NBA or Major League Baseball. They have no power to choose who plays for a championship. No. That's why I don't want Nick Saban in it. I don't want Mac Brown in it. I want a criteria that we play by.
I don't disagree
and it's settled
with that.
On the field.
I don't disagree with that. I think that's the only way to do it.
That's the only way to do it. Yes.
The problem is viewership.
Well, you got to get out of that.
Because that's what everything's led to.
But if you put the best products on the field, go back and look at bowl games. Bowl games for years had tie-ins to certain conferences. But if the team that they felt like could put the most fans in the bowl didn't win, they circumvented that and they put teams in bowls so that it would draw people. If you put the best product in front of people, it will draw. You don't have to create an artificial draw, I guess is what I'm saying. And that's what happens. You do this artificial stuff. Things need to be handled on the field of competition, period. And until they get away from that, and the money part will take care of itself. That's what I can't get. I can't get over with the way they think about it. If you put the best product on TV, are you going to watch it?
Of course.
Not, but you get pissed if you have to watch something that you feel like somebody manipulated and put on there.
Well, of course.
Even though they think in their mind they've put it out there for the money.
How does Army get left out? How?
I agree.
The committee, people listen. By the way, prayers for Andrew and his family and his wife. She's in the hospital. Not giving too much info here, but she's having some tests run this morning. I think she may have had a mild heart attack. More to come on that happened yesterday late afternoon. So, he's an avid listener, participator in the
I just
show.
texted with him yesterday afternoon.
And, he's as good as gold. And, he's as diehard, Clemson and Dabo as you can get. But, when the rubber meets the road, he's as good a human being as there is on this planet. So we're thinking about him and his family. And just wanted to throw that in. I really think that – this whole thing is really just based on if your team got in.
I'm mad because mine got in.
This is my thing. When I look at this, and there's always going to be issues. The problem is everything is left up to debate because it's not been settled on the field.
Correct.
I can't look at any team, including Oregon, and say, for example, that Ole Miss doesn't have a good chance to beat anybody at any time on that whole entire list.
I get that, but that I guess that's the part.
That's the whole problem.
I don't want conjecture and what if.
But that's what we got.
That's
I understand,
what I'm saying. But we got to fix that. We got to fix that
until your solution of having 8 conferences.
Yeah.
I think somebody mentioned 4 conferences with 10 teams, and then they just have a playoff in the year 2 games. You can do that, but I think in order to spread things out to get a truer champion. It's best to go 8 conferences, okay? Mm-hmm. I don't care how many you put in there. You can put 10 teams in. I don't care. But whoever the conference champion is, and you have to decide as a conference.
But everybody inside that conference plays everybody. That's what makes it. That's what makes it.
But this is what I'm saying. They all have to decide if they're going to have a true conference championship game, and then that decide.
No.
I'm just saying. Yeah. Or if it's going to be based on the regular season. Because if everybody plays everybody – you may lose one game, but then you beat the other team that's tied with you. Well, head-to-head, you go. That settles everything. It takes out all this, the other thing that I think we all need to keep in mind with this is the betting markets. It's a lot more fun to have – I say fun. There's a lot more opportunity when there's speculation involved.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So to take that out of the scenario –
explain that.
Well, for example, like we had like some people really felt like Army was going to get in regardless
Right.
of whatever. Some people felt like Notre Dame, although they're a very good team, they had a terrible loss. And so trying to justify a bunch of good wins versus a terrible loss, then you take a team like Ole Miss, South Carolina, or Alabama, and you say, hey, you know, they had bad loss, but yet they, you know, Alabama's the only team to beat Georgia, right? I mean, how do you – like Ole Miss has had tremendous wins. South Carolina, you know, look how they got better towards the middle end of middle of the season and on.
Top three, the top three,
You know,
the top three teams from the ACC didn't play each other.
No,
How do you know what I'm saying?
And they finally did in the conference championship game. To your point,
but I don't want a conference championship. Add that playoff round.
Mega conferences it just waters everything down. Like the worst thing to ever happen to basketball, I think, was the dissolving of the Big East for college basketball. And you say, yeah, but you know everybody still watches it. March Madness is great, yes, but it takes away from the meaningful part of the season, which is the body of work that you build a cohesive unit to go into March Madness. Not, well, they just get on a run and they're hot. You know, a lot of people can say that about NC State, but that's not true. They built their body of work all year long when they went on their great run. Did they get hot? Yes, that's okay. But the point was they kept working, won 5 games in a row. I don't think they were supposed to win any of those 5, maybe 4, you know, one of the 5.
Right.
In the ACC tournament. 5 days and won, and then went on and played. It was exciting. But this whole thing about, you know, well, this team had a terrible loss and we're not changing anything. The teams are the teams, and this is what that's ridiculous. If you're not going to evaluate week to week, then why have extra games played?
Well, you know, they were talking about
it makes no sense.
They fussed at the SEC because they didn't schedule enough non-conference quality opponents.
Ridiculous.
But here's the thing.
It's ridiculous.
They're not taking it into consideration this year because everything's not the same.
You, me, anybody can go out and criticize them. They are mecca of college football because of, you know, of the way that they play the game, the way the game has been enhanced, the coaching methods, the coaching styles, the recruiting. And these smaller programs need to be able to do that so they can be funded. Yeah. It's not, well, you know, survival of the fittest. No, it's about experiences. We've got to remember that it's most important to help these young people experience things and have meaningful experiences in places that they may never have gotten to go or may never get to, so it helps them be better, you know, parents, people, productive citizens. We need to be able to do this. You know, when I was at Madison High School, we were a very I don't know how to say it. There weren't a lot of games won, okay? And, you know, people say, well, you need to schedule some games you can win. And I'm like, whoa. Hold on. I just came from, you know, from Dylan and, well, you know, you need to play a reasonable schedule. No. We're going to set the standard. That's why I have a problem with teams that qualify for the playoffs in high school football that won't go in their 16 seed or whatever. They won't go play a number 1. We're going to go get our eyes beat shut. Wait a minute. If you're building a program, you need to expose your players, all right, to the standards that need to be set and why that team is so good and why you're 16 and what needs to be done to close the gap. Okay, 4 years ago, Salisbury, we played them when they were the state champions. They came through Maiden and rolled through us like a tornado in a trailer park. It was unbelievable. All right, and our guys were like, what just happened? I said, guys, now you know the standard is set, and you've got 6 months to work on it until you potentially play them again. And so Quinn and Jack and DJ and Jacob and all the boys, Chris, Ben, everybody, all right, they all got together and said, you know what? They're not beating our eyes shut like this again. And they closed the gap. And then we ended up playing Salisbury again, and we wore them out because the standard had been set. Yes, teams are different. Teams change, all this stuff. But what you got to remember is that you have to set expectation in order to have an opportunity to meet it. You can't just throw it and let it stick on a wall, okay? That's the problem I got with all of this. Everything is so subjective. It doesn't matter who you play conference, non-conference, if your conference champion is the one that advances. They can be 7-3.
And I don't care who you pick for the next 8. You can argue about them, but you know that the chances of that 8 beating this 8 are a little slimmer.
Right, and rank them like you want to. Once the conference champions are there and there's 8 of them, you rank them out whatever criteria you want because it doesn't matter because they all got to play each other then. This stuff about, well, this team's getting in because, they had quality wins and – their strength of schedule was this, and and you're sitting there thinking, okay, yeah, but why is Army not in if you're using this criteria? This team has 1 loss, but yet it was to, NIUL or whoever it was, H, whatever, that Notre Dame lost to. They're not in a conference, but, we're still going to do – there's no rules of engagement. It's the wild, wild west, and whatever makes a contract or the betting markets feel good. And that obviously there's chaos ensues when expectation is not set, and that's what we got. That's why I'm saying the committee's never going to get it right. When you leave Georgia out a year ago, and they were number 1 almost all year, and they lose in a conference championship game, are you kidding me? How does that happen? Well, it's not fair to Washington, and it's not fair. There's that word fair again, all right, which means the system is not fair. It's not fair to all the participants and all the people that are lined up in it because there's no true criteria. It is based on feelings of the moment, which we've all learned that the last 8 to 10 years of our lives hadn't worked out real well, okay, and it's caused chaos. All right, instead of what's true. What's true is when it's on paper and you play it out on the field and it's predetermined, this is what you got to do. It leaves no margin for error except, what's expected of you, and then you got to go out and do it.
Look at the playoffs. And the other thing that I was bothered by, and I like, and I think we've talked about this a little bit before, when you decide that this is the 12s going in, I want to be reseeded. I'm not interested in what you did before.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
Get me in the poll because the other side of it is, as far as I'm concerned, you can take those 12 and put 12 numbers in a hat and start drawing them. Because here's the thing: you got to win all your games to win it. You're going to have to play and beat everybody out there if you win it. So what? You didn't get a great draw in the first round. You got to win them all. If you don't play them now, you got to play them later. Why should that be something that's in consideration?
Well, how about this? And this is to your point is very valid. This is the other thing. Let's think about high school and why it spills over into college. Well, we have conference tournaments.
So there shouldn't be conference tournaments.
So the number 2 seed in or whoever wins the conference tournament, if they're not 1 or 2, gets the number 2 seed. So that throws all of the regular season out, that body of work, what you work for in all season.
They do it in Division I basketball. You can be undefeated and lose one game in the conference championship
and go and qualify
and not get in, but you've got a whole season of body of work because you only get one qualifier.
Right, yeah, and it's so exciting. That team was like 4-22, and they ran the table, and they're in. Well, I appreciate that, and I think that's, great and wonderful, but you don't deserve it.
Mm-mm.
For winning 2 or 3 games or 5 games, you don't deserve that. And because you didn't earn it, it's not that, all you deserve is an opportunity, not an outcome that is based off of just a whim. Let me tell you this, if I'm coaching, like when we were playing the conference tournament years ago, it had no bearing on where we finished to be seated in the state championship, in the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I threw my number 12 pitcher, and I think Lincoln ended up beating us like 5-4. They're like, why didn't you? I was like, why would I waste my arms when we play, next Monday or Tuesday starting in the state playoffs? Why would I tire my arms out? Why would I not rest them for a week?
Sometimes
you see what I'm saying? It's the same thing in the ACC tournament.
In tournament play, when we were traveling, there were times where when you look at the brackets and you had only X amount of innings that you could pitch, you go into the loser's bracket.
That's right.
Because it makes more sense. It's easier for you to come out of there.
Advance your way through.
You got to figure out, how do I get to the championship game to get an opportunity to win the game?
And when you know the rules, that's what you do.
Right.
That's like when we went to the state championship, it's 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
So I had a choice.
Yeah.
I could either throw my number 1 pitcher for 7 innings on, Friday night and then he only has 5 innings left the rest of the weekend for a 12 max, or I could use him the last 3 or 4 innings of each game. So I'd have him available the whole time.
No.
Well, Bladenborough, great coach, Joey Autry, one of my best friends, he decided to throw his ace Thomas Mitchell, who got drafted by the Expos a year later, for 7 innings, and then turn around and throw him for 5 in game 3. I chose our bullet for 4 innings, 4 innings, 4 innings. That way I had him for all the games. That way, if you're going to beat us, you're going to beat our very best on the mound, our very best in the field, and our very best at the plate consistently throughout 20 – it's supposed to be 21 innings, ended up being 23 innings of total baseball. And that's the way it rolls. It's all about planning and preparation, and you have different ways of looking at things. Like if I was ACC basketball, I would never – if I had a really good team, I'd never try to win the conference tournament.
Yeah.
Because it's 2 or 3 extra games, then my legs are going to be gone.
That's right.
I would play and compete, okay, and get ready because, how many people go by, well, they were ACC tournament champions, or do they remember, wow, they were national champions?
Yeah.
It's like that thing again, Lanny. You put it right here and hit it. Is that success, or do you set the bar way up here and then barely miss it or hit it? What is that? What is the difference between achievement and success? And that's where college football is screwing up.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: we can't do anything about this year's playoff. It's already set. I think they will continue to tweak this as time goes on because they're finding out it didn't work. And there's nothing I like better when it comes college football playoff time than for crap to come up it not answer its own questions. I want confusion there because if it's confusion there, it means you didn't do a good job making sure you had the right criteria to qualify those that's going to get in.
100%.
So when I look through the playoffs and I look through the playoff teams that are in there, I'm going to ask you which ones – I'll ask you which of these bother you and who you would replace it with. Oregon. I'm not talking about seeding or wherever. I'm just talking about being in the top 12. Oregon.
Yeah, that's fine.
How about Arizona State?
I'm good with them.
They were pretty impressive, I thought.
Let me tell you something. Their wide receivers are huge and can block.
Oh, they were impressive.
They are power football up front.
Yeah.
When you look at this team and you're like, that's some pretty big dudes out there. Holy cow, they can run. There's gonna be some issues there for some teams playing them.
Georgia?
Yeah, that's fine.
Boise State?
No.
Why? Because they're not in the SEC or Big Ten? If you go back,
I don't think that teams that were the best that were at SEC and Big Ten got in. Okay, that's not a valid argument. When I look at that team, I can't look at them objectively and say South Carolina wouldn't wipe the floor with them. I can't say that, Clemson, who is in barely, it's about an equal match. I can't say when I look at, Ole Miss or Bama or even Oklahoma. So Oklahoma finished dead last. And I said, wait a minute. Boise State versus Oklahoma. Oh, Boise would be – no. Iron sharpens iron. And that's the problem with all of this. It's subjective. And that's my opinion. It doesn't make it right and everybody else wrong. But when I look at that, we've all played one-on-one basketball. We've all played on, in like little 3-on-3 tournaments and those kind of things. I mean, well, that they got to buy. Their bracket was easy. Why are they there? And then they get mopped out, and you're like, yeah, I told you.
You talk about that. Do you know what two teams that had mediocre 500-ish finishes that were in the top 5 strongest strength of schedule because of who they played is Oklahoma and Florida.
Yeah.
But
Florida's a great example. That's even a better example. I can't say that if Boise plays Florida doesn't wipe the field with them. I can't say that because of how good Florida is now. At the end of the year, they finished strong and were really good. I mean, iron sharpens iron. It sets expectation. It's the whole thing with you. Was it UCF, University of Central Florida, years ago? Well, they're undefeated. They're national. Let me tell you. It's like saying that, USC's
that's
football
what it used
team.
To be.
USC's football team could beat such and such in NFL because don't say stuff like it. It's like the beginning of the year where they're I'm done with Bryce Young. He's the worst player in the world. Look, there's no doubt that Sam. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. There's no doubt Andy Dalton does this and that. Oh, wait. Process. Now what do you say about that? Not you, third person. Oh, well, Bryce is looking like the guy that we thought. When you plant a seed, a tree doesn't grow in 3 days or even 2 years. That's where we're at with all this stuff with college football. And to your point, you've only gotten to number 4, which is the 4 seed, and we've already got a major issue with why they're in. Why?
Another question. Go back to coaching. Texas is in.
Mm-hmm.
Are they playing the right quarterback? A lot of folks are speculating it'll be Arch Manning when it comes to the bowl game.
Yeah.
Not Quinn Ewers.
Yeah.
Quinn Ewers has gotten worse as the years gone by. I think he was supposed to be a top.
He's hurt. He's got a bad ankle. And, I think Sark knows what he's doing. He's been through a lot personally and professionally. He has really, really, really worked on himself and understanding, and he's just at a different level. I think it's easy to say that Arch is better, but Ewers is he's going to be kind of like Justin Herbert when he gets in the NFL. He has those intangibles because he doesn't have to go around and do things that he's not capable of doing. Always fast, and that doesn't matter. You need to be able to elude the pocket and the presence in the pocket. Get out of there and then make a play. You don't need to elude it and run downfield and everybody get excited. I just think Arch has a different set. People don't prep for Arch when they play Texas.
They haven't seen him as much.
That's why he is so effective. There's no preparation for that because Ewers is their quarterback. So 50-50. I really, not there every day, but just watching it, I like Quinn a lot, and I think he's the right leader for the team. But that doesn't mean that Arch doesn't come in and just take it over to another level. It's just.
I'm not convinced that he is, but at the same time, you've got Arch who doesn't have anything to prove. I mean, he's got he's just saving his body, basically, the way I look at it.
Well, his process. He is, the seed has been planted. He's in a family that understands that the most important thing is development and the end result, which is productivity. They don't get all excited about, well, I'm not playing the right way, I'm transferring out. Hey, you're with Steve Sarkisian. You're in the quarterback room with him. Your two uncles are probably, arguably, two of the, one of the greatest players ever. The other one of the greatest Super Bowl players ever. Okay, so and a grandpa. I mean, they're doing it right, and they never fuss about anything, and they're all. I mean, they work together. It's a symbiont circle, man.
Yeah. How about they had to take East Carolina and NC State out of state to get them a ball game? They're going bowling to the Military Bowl. And the Duke's Mayo Bowl with Minnesota and Virginia Tech, it won't even be half full on the bottom tier deck. Won't even be close.
Why not have Dukes 1 and 2 and have Dukes and Duke Light, and then you can have Virginia Tech and whoever you want in the Dukes, and then have the Dukes Light mayonnaise when you'd have ECU and State.
They're going to Annapolis.
Then you'd have a huge. You know what I'm saying? Then you'd have a huge crowd because
80
of how
miles
many people
away.
live. So many ECU and NC State alum live in the Charlotte metro area.
Yeah.
They would feel that alone just on. Oh, dude, that's hilarious. Need Duke's Light.
Let's see. Let me get back here. Richie had something to say.
Negative 2.0.
I got to find it.
So who else you got on that? You got the 4 guy. We got at number 4, and then there's already an issue.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, we got to number 4, which is Boise, and there's already an issue there.
Yeah.
Now, it's arguable.
It's not with me.
Lanny,
because,
I'm sorry, I just don't see it.
But the only reason it's not with me is because it meets it meets the sniff test on how it's set up.
Right,
It doesn't make it right.
No.
That
I agree
make
with
it
that.
right.
I agree with that. But what you're saying is, well, we want these conference champions in, and then everything else can be subjective.
No, I want it to be a cluster so that they fix it.
What?
So that they figure out we can't leave it like this.
You are 100% right. That's what this. But that's what they've done.
Yeah.
Think about this. That's what they've done. They said these 4 champions are going in these 4 seeds, and everybody else we're just going to kind of how we feel and the criteria and the committee. And again, I didn't trust them to put the top 4 in. I'm sure not going to trust them to put the top 12.
Right.
This is ridiculous.
Right.
I mean, what if the Maiden Pee Wee football team was one of the, you gonna put that team in here and say, well, they're deserving because they made it through their conference? No, you're not going to do that in the current structure. Now, if you say 8 conferences, every conference champion decide conferences how you going to do your champion.
Yeah.
You can have an extra game if you want to. You can say regular season. I don't care. But when you declare your champion, right, it's almost like the Electoral College.
Yeah.
When that state says, this is who we certify, and then you send it on, okay? That's the way it's left up. That's just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay? And then you just, okay. And each conference submits their team.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm good with that.
I just there just has to be a better there has to be a better way to do it.
Well, your way to do it is the best way. Your way to do it is the best way. It's the best way.
You got to quit playing these games that, well, we felt like we should do this. I don't, I told you I don't like committees. I don't
no, I can't stand them. It's a diversion from responsibility.
No, don't.
It's like, well, the committee decided. I don't even know what that means.
No, I agree. I agree 100%. I don't want it to be that way. But at the same time, I'm okay with what they've got because I think every year it gets better. Is it right? Is it perfect? No, we ain't got there yet. But it gets better every year because they fix a little something. All right, let me give you the next 5. Texas. You okay with Texas?
Oh, yeah.
Ohio State.
Who?
Ohio State.
Yeah.
Tennessee.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Penn State.
I wasn't. I am now.
Notre Dame.
Under current criteria, yes.
11-1.
Really bad one. A really bad one.
Do you look at the
bad?
Do you look at bad losses or great wins?
Well, I think you have to look at everything. But the problem is if they say Ole Miss or Bama or there's one more. Oh, South Carolina can't get in. It's because they lost to so and so. What about the great wins?
Yeah.
That each one of them had.
I agree. Yeah.
This is just so bizarre.
All right.
But nothing surprises me or shocks me anymore.
Couple comments. Good morning, honey. Good morning, Richie. Good morning, Milton. Kim said there's never a perfect system. It will always come down by money. But if they will just let it take care of itself, the money will take care of itself.
Laney, 8 conferences, 10 teams. Okay,
right.
That what you do is you've got another 120 that are probably or another 100 that are wanting to get in that conference. Well, set the precedent.
Guess what? That 80 can't win. Every team in that 80 can't even compete.
Completely agree, but you got to have enough of a test group to make sure that things stay valid, and it gives an opportunity for like a Colorado State and a Colorado, all right, Nebraska. All of this, people jumping here, joining this conference, going here.
If you do that and if you got 10 teams, you play 9 conference games, so that leaves you 3 non-conference at a minimum.
Okay, play who you want.
Let me ask you this:
doesn't matter.
Do you count those 3 games are outside the it doesn't matter if you win, lose, if they're great wins, terrible losses, it doesn't matter. Okay,
and if you want to,
I'm okay with that.
Now listen to this: I'm okay with this. Play who you want, and then when you're one of the 8. The final 8 that goes to the board, and they need to rank you on how you're going to play.
Correct.
No problem.
Right. I'm okay with that.
If you sit there and say, "Well, Ole Miss is 9, they're 8-1 and they're conference champions."
Yeah.
And in their conference, they're 8-1, but they were 8-3 or 9 or 12.
9-3.
Yeah, 9-3 overall. But they played, I'm just giving an example. Let's say Florida was really good. Georgia's they played outside the league, whatever. And the 3 losses they had were against really, really good teams. And I take that in consideration when I'm ranking them there. If they play Mercer and some Western and some – I'm okay with that. I just take that into account and look at how they played in their league and say, yeah, this is where I think we need to rank them. And what you do is you get the 8 qualifying coaches and their ADs in the room, and you let them rank them. Because then there's accountability.
No, I'm okay. Let's put 8 numbers in a hat and let's draw.
But what I'm saying is, if you want to do a seeding, then you do that. And people say, yeah, but they're going to pull from themselves. Well, wait a minute. There's a lot of integrity and character with people that have programs like that. Okay? And the reason they are so successful is not because they're sleight of hand or selfish. It's because they're focused on addressing matters most and important to the success of what they're trying to do. The same thing with the Mac Brown. There's no way you could tell me that Mac Brown would go into any meeting like that, and if he didn't feel like his team was the best in the country at that time, that he would not seat them where he felt like they should be. Now, that doesn't mean that the other coaches would agree or disagree with him, but nobody can convince me of that, because this is a man that is of the highest character that there is on this planet. People say, oh, football coach this. No. There's no arguing he's one of the greatest coaches that's ever lived. People may not like the teams that he's coached, or they may be homers with, like NC State, or, or you went to Clemson. You may not like, Carolina or whatever, but it doesn't take away from, the quality and content and character of the person leading the team. And that's my point. Urban Meyer, people question this and question that and villain this and villain that. We all responsible for our actions. There's no doubt about that. But when he sits in a room like that, he's going to tell you who he feels like the best, the top, where they should be seated, top 8. And it's in a room with just them. Then they come out and that's what they do. They don't tell anybody. I don't know, man. I have a lot of faith in people that lead things.
I agree. I just hate opinions. I don't like opinions when
then we can take it out and everything's predetermined. Mac, I'm just giving an example. Big 12, all right, which is now the Big 10.
Hat, shake it up.
Big 10 plays this team, and it's predetermined like it was in high school football. There was no question, where you were going to be if you were in that seed,
right,
and what you had to do to get to the state championship. There was no question,
right. But
home or away, that's what you were doing.
But you still had to be seeded after that. You just knew who you were gonna.
And that's what I mean. Like if you were number 2 seed,
yeah.
Now shaking the hat's not a bad thing.
And the only reason I like that is because, just like I said, you can't win a championship without going through everybody that's in front of you.
Completely agree.
And I'm not. The other thing, they are. Let's see. The first round games are 2 weeks. You don't need buys. You got 2 weeks off. Add another round of playoffs. You don't need buys. I don't want buys. You don't need buys.
So how about this?
I want 16 with no buys.
Yeah.
And I want first 2 rounds at home at home fields, because you're just not going to believe. Can you imagine Ohio State going to Tennessee? SMU going to Happy Valley? I mean, those are things, Clemson's got to go to Texas. That's going to be an eye-opener right there, buddy.
And Clemson is a kind of a Jekyll and Hyde team, right? They play really well. Then this is the problem. When you look at that system, you say, well, they won the ACC tournament. I don't disagree with that. I say tournament, the championship game.
Right.
But when you look back, what happened a week earlier?
Oh, no.
And where did that team finish in that other league?
Yep.
Now, I'm not taking anything away from Clemson. What I'm saying is these are the questions that come up. And when people say, well, you can only play who you plays on your schedule, I don't disagree with that. You're missing the whole point. The whole point is once you're not a top 4 seed or a champion of that conference,
yeah,
then everything else is left to seeding and proving why you should be there.
Well,
and that's not a good criteria.
Just like I said before, if you take 16 and you got 16 and you got 8 conferences and you take those 8 conference champions, You know we got a meeting today with Mark.
No, you didn't know me.
Well, I didn't know you was going to wear your freaking pajamas.
It's Polar Express Day at the office.
It's a matching set.
That is. It's cute. I like
okay.
it. I like it. That's good.
Yeah. So after you get those 8 conference champions, okay, the chances of anybody outside of that actually making it through the gauntlet to win it all is really slim. So I don't care who you put in after that.
I don't
that
disagree
doesn't matter.
with that, Lanny. I don't disagree with that.
Because the problem is, who was
They
it?
need to be
Milt made a good comment here. He said, Boise State's a gimmick team like Central Florida and Cincinnati, and I'm fine with that.
I love their team,
but when
I'm
you
not
get there,
criticizing
it's
their
over.
Team.
You know
what I'm saying is I'm criticizing the system. I love
agree.
Clemson's team. I think they can. I think they're so dynamic, so exciting. You know, I love Army's team. What I'm saying is I'm not upset at the team. I don't have a college football team. Mm-hmm. You know, we were in a group text, and, of course, I kind of lost my mind there for about 30 minutes and couldn't stop.
Just once.
But maybe over a 5-hour period. But the point is, you know, I'm not an Alabama fan. I'm a college football fan. My college team sucks. They've got a long way to go. Okay, I'm an East Carolina guy. Love them. Okay, but I love college football. It's exciting. It's enjoyable, and things. Yeah, but the way that the system is done is not set up for long-term success. It's set up for, you know, today's, you know, victory and tomorrow's failure. It has to be. It's a Polar Express.
This is not your closet.
And
come dressed before you get here.
Well, you told me that I couldn't wear my pajamas, so I just decided to change the sweatshirt to make it look like I got these pants.
It's incredible.
Okay.
I love it. She's great.
That's what I have to deal with.
She's great. But there's just a lot left up for discussion. Again, it's not about hating on another team. The system is what is broken and why it leaves all this up for debate.
Yeah.
It's broken.
Yeah.
Okay, go to your point. If you want to go 16, let's go 16 conferences. All right, let's put 5 teams in each league and let them play 6 non-conference games. But let them focus on those 5. I'm just giving an example, 4 or 5 games. You want to spread it out and get a real means test and make them regionally based. Mm-hmm. And that way they have the opportunity to grow and expand and recruit and out-coach and bring in somebody.
All right, let me ask you this question. Would you want to see, say, regionally based, would you want to see, let's just take an 18. Mm-hmm. Would you want to see Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, LSU, Florida? I was just picking some SEC teams because then people are going to get pissed because they're going to beat each other up and can't get in.
Yeah.
I mean, so how do you do it? I guess that's where my problem comes from, because then everybody would say, all right, then we need to have the top SEC teams to be the number 1 team in the 8 conferences, and then we'll build from there. I get so sick of hearing SEC and Big Ten. I just
Why?
Because it's like the Carolina basketball fans. We don't need to play a regular season.
But
we're going to the championship game. Let us know where to show up for the final 2, and we'll go play our game and win our championship. But Alabama was the same way in football.
But that's hating on success.
Not hating on success.
Yeah. I mean,
you're getting the benefit of all doubts. As long as you win it, I don't care.
Well, of course, and that's what they do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying. I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, like if someone doesn't have a good football team, well, then start at the very top and go out and invest the money and hire the best possible coach on the circuit, not one that, wow, they're a really good fit here, which basically means they're in the same mindset as our loser mentality, and they may get a couple bowl games and be 8-3, and then they're going to suck and be fired.
But it's all about what your goals are,
and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like teams that invest in universities and school systems that invest in the quality of what they're trying to do should never be punished because one of those that's in that system or that conference doesn't want to go out and do that or put the time, effort, and energy on a community basis or on a nationwide campus basis or whatever. Why did Alabama go get Nick Saban? Because he was the best coach available, and what did it do? It kept him in the top tier after the first year. It kept him in the top tier in the conversation until he retired. All right, it's just like with Bill Belichick. Is there potential for him to come to Carolina? Yes, and be the football coach. Yes. Some people say, oh, it's crazy. Why would you do that? He is the best coach available.
No, he takes that job so his son becomes coach.
It doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter why. I would do the same thing.
Yeah, but is he giving you his best effort? I didn't like it when, and I don't like South Carolina. I didn't like it when Spurrier tried to do that, and then when Lou Holtz tried to do that.
But he didn't do it. And Holtz didn't.
But that was what they wanted to do.
Yeah, but they didn't have the pedigree to do that. Bill Belichick is the best coach that's ever lived.
Doesn't have anything to do with Scott.
Who?
His son. That's what I'm saying. He wants to take the job provided his son is named coach in waiting from the beginning.
Okay.
That's public knowledge.
But why is that just subjective to Carolina? How many of these situations have we seen that with Duke basketball?
No. I'm not. No, I didn't say it. No. I'm not saying it was an isolated incident. I'm just saying.
Believe that John Shire was the best coach in the country.
I'm just saying I don't
Mike Krzyzewski did it.
I don't like the motivation.
Dean Smith did it with Bill Guthridge.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are two of the greatest basketball coaches that ever lived.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure that Hubert's not another one.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the problem is leadership at the top. That is where all of this is just kind of crumbled.
Mm-hmm.
And if my son had similar attributes, all right, and I'm the coach, then yeah, I'm going to sit there and think that if he is the best person to lead it, and I truly believe that, then this is what we're going to do, because he will continue the things that I've taught him his whole life that's built upon being the greatest coach that's ever lived, okay, and why, and how he did it in a league that was totally against him from day one, and now I can do that and provide that. There's a lot of people that don't like that, but why is that still not in the best interest? What else are they going to do? They're not going to go hire Urban Meyer. They're not going to go hire Nick Saban. Who else are they going to get? Are we going to get another offensive guru that's just so smart in play calling? How's that worked out in the NFL? Not real damn good. I'm watching a game last night with the Cincinnati team who's probably got the hottest quarterback in the NFL that can't win a damn ball game.
Yeah.
Now, he can call the plays, but they can't. What is it about? Is it about leadership and the ability to win and win championships, or is it about a popularity contest and who can call the best plays?
Well,
that's where I'm at.
When you're trying to hire coaches, you're trying to hedge your bets based on what you feel like your team needs to be successful.
Right.
And it don't always equate that way. I mean,
maybe you change the culture, which is what Carolina needs to do drastically.
The biggest thing is and that's the key. And there's only one coach out there that really, really does that, and he's done it everywhere he's landed, and I don't care what level it's on, and that's Jim Harbaugh. The first thing he does is he comes up and he comes in and he cleans up the culture. Mm-hmm. He gets everybody on the same page. Mm-hmm. Then he starts worrying about X's and O's, because if you don't have everybody in the right culture and mindset, I don't care how good the X's and O's are.
Well, the Jimmys and Joes work out when you get because X's and O's.
But he did it at San Diego State. He did it.
That's a great point.
At Stanford, he did it at San Francisco the first time.
And that's arguable for Lou Holtz, what he did at State and other places.
Yep.
Mac Brown started at App and moving on.
And that's the thing. They brought Mac in to do that.
A transitional candidate.
But Mac didn't do what he needed to do to take care of the X's and O's. I think he did a culture change, but he didn't either give up enough control, they didn't give him enough money, whatever, to take care of the pieces he needed up under.
How many Division I football teams do we have in North Carolina? We got a lot.
6, 7.
10, 11, 12, counting Charlotte.
Yeah.
How many do they have in Minnesota? How many do they have in Michigan?
I know. Yeah.
How many do they have in Alabama?
Yeah.
How many do they have in Georgia? How many they got in South Carolina? Mm-hmm. This is a major issue. We are a victim of our own success as a university system with, phenomenal educational process, for all these years that have built into what it is. The problem with football is that it's so specific in the way you do things, where basketball has a much larger pool, right? So you
because it's less numbers.
Right. You can have great numbers to choose from within football, everybody's cherry picking the players. Yeah. How many players have left North Carolina to go play in other places? Mm-hmm. And rightfully so, because everything is just drowned out. If you're going to be the head coach of a university here in North Carolina, you must be the only university, and you must present it as that. It is the only option for anybody in state is to go to your school.
But as the head coach, don't you control that?
No, that's what I'm saying. But that's not where we are.
But that's the way it should work. That head coach has got to weed out in his mind everybody else. There's nobody else.
No, we are the only show in town.
That's correct.
And initially that started, and you saw the bump.
Yeah.
And then it filtered itself back out. I mean, when you miss, like Carolina's thing was, and Mac Brown, made this very clear, we cannot miss on, a Caleb Farley.
Can't miss on in-state talent.
Robbie Abernathy took Caleb down to junior day, and nobody even talked to him at Carolina. Took him down there. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't even talk to him. Now, this is one of the most dynamic, athletically gifted people that has ever stepped foot in this part of the state. I mean, we've had some wonderful athletes over time, people way before my time and all the way up too. But I am telling you, from a dynamic standpoint, he's one of the top tier.
Yeah.
And nobody talked to him. This is a major issue. What's happening is they're trying to recruit like Michigan and Alabama and Georgia and Florida when they have to. You need to take a kid that's an inch or two shorter, like a Matt Eisenhower, who you can put 70 pounds on and put him at center or guard, and all of a sudden he's all ACC and all world, and you've got a good football team. Okay? You can't miss. Where did Tyler Shatley from East Burke go? He went to Clemson. Where did was it KJ Henry? Where'd he go?
Yeah,
Clemson.
But the thing of it is,
I mean, come on, man.
But to me, that comes back to how you run your program.
I don't
disagree. You don't have your arms wrapped around it, and you're not. And I don't know when you look inside of it. It's like anything else. Until you can take a look at the guy in the mirror and do a true evaluation, you can't help do anything or build anything.
And you've got to be able to do those things. You've got to be able to do the recruiting. Mac can do that. The problem is that it's not the university in North Carolina to go play for, because there's not one. All of a sudden, App gets really good. They get a bunch of kids that were pretty much snubbed, all right? They went out there and just wore Michigan out.
They figured it out.
Right. They figured out their niche. East Carolina for years, off and on, was really, really good because they got those kids, those players that were, kind of overlooked. Right? They got, I mean, how do you there's no way to fix that. The only way to do it is to go out and hire Nick Saban as your coach. The only way to do it is to get Bill Belichick as your coach.
The problem
when Bill Belichick comes to your school and you're a senior in high school and he has a direct path to the NFL, are you going to sit there and say, well, I think I'm going to go to Wake Forest? No. If that guy's at my school, that means he sees something in me down, not only now but down the road. He's going to develop it, and he's got a direct pipeline to the NFL, which is what my goal is if he showed up at my school. Yeah, I want to go get an education. That's great. But I want to go to the NFL.
Let me answer Richie's question before we get out of here. Richie says, Lanny, are you going to be able to still pull for App with them hiring the Chickens offense coordinator? Well, here's the deal, Richie. I don't care. I don't really care where it came from. My only problem that's bothered by that App hire is it was done in less than 7 days. They fired. I think it was going on in the background that they knew that Sean Clark was out. But look what happened the last time you just kind of pulled off the trigger and pulled Drinkowitz in. And then Appalachian has not been able to recover from that because they weren't able to put somebody into place that they could truly evaluate and have there.
So, and to say in Drinkowitz, take a look at Missouri. They're arguable, just like Florida, just like Oklahoma, even though Oklahoma finished in the bottom tier. It's arguable that they could beat out of those 12 teams, potentially 10 of them, maybe 11, hell, maybe 12. I don't know. It's exciting, but at the same time, it's broken. And it's going to be hard for me to watch and say, well,
I can watch it because it's football. I try to get that emotionally involved.
Where's Army?
Yeah.
Where is Army? What they are the most undermanned. That's not what I mean. Undersized, disadvantaged.
Well, they have to play by a different set of rules that nobody else has. All the service academies do.
But they have the highest character players that do their job and develop their skills. That's just like we talk about. I'll trust you with my life, but can I trust you with my money and my wife? And what you say on the armed services team is probably 19 out of 20, 29 out of 30. The answer is yes.
I just want to make sure.
And that's why they're good.
I just want to make sure that I've got teams that are out there that can compete on a day in, day out basis. That's the biggest.
And I hope Boise, does well. I do. It's not hating on them. It's just hating on the system because I think it's failed us miserably once again.
Well, I know if you look at high school football, we used to talk about high school football and how it was. In the last few years, since they went to the RPI, the biggest thing that's happened there, when they seed those teams, you have very few teams that are not top-tier teams making it late into the playoffs, which to me tells me they kind of got it right because they've been able to survive.
The only thing I don't like about that is it leaves things up for subjective. Like you have some coaches that at the beginning of the third quarter and they're up 30 points, they're taking those kids out. But then all these metrics are factored in about how many points did you give up, how many did you score, do this. Metrics are great, but they're not. It's just like stats. They're not indicative to the true nature.
Well, you got to know how they were created. You got to know the means by which they were created. Yeah. For example, if you went out and played golf and you got a par on the first hole and the ball never left the ground, you just kind of beat it up the fairway. That's not make you a great golfer.
Really see how
you know what I'm saying? You need to see.
That's what we do,
right? But you know what I'm saying.
That's what we do,
and that's why when you look at, you've got to take into consideration. Well, he pulled his starting quarterback after the first series.
When we play golf, we hit the ball that far a lot of times from the out of bounds area on a par 3, or it sails or comes up short, or we just whatever, and then we hit the second shot. That's the most amazing shot in golf history. That comes that far from the hole or goes in, and we're like, oh, my God, I can't believe I just birdied that, or I can't believe I parred that. Well, to look at us play, you're like,
that's why you don't write down scorecard how you got there.
Play in tournament play, but you can just get out there and do it.
Yeah.
And it's a style versus substance issue.
Yeah.
And that is what conference championships will take out of the equation.
I agree.
And you have a great idea there that I hope materializes.
Probably never lived to see that because it makes sense.
And it won't make enough money.
It'll make money. You put the best product on the field, it'll make money.
But it won't.
You here Thursday?
But yeah.
Okay. See you Thursday, guys. Be careful. Rain the next couple of days.